Hi there. If this is the first time watching me, welcome to Time with Ed. I'm so glad you are here. My name is Edwina, a Ghanaian nurse, a qualified mediator, and a law graduate on my journey to becoming a solicitor here in the UK. I relocated a while ago and I've been learning, adapting, and growing ever since. This channel is all about sharing my experiences and insights on relocation, immigration to the UK, giving health tips, providing legal perspectives, and so much more. Whether you are planning to relocate, need some legal or health tips, or if you simply want relatable advice on navigating life abroad, then you are at the right place. Please pardon my hoarse voice. I'm down with a cold, however, I still need to shoot the video. Anyway, in today's video, I'll share my personal story of moving to the UK, including why I relocated, how I balance being a nurse and a law student, and tips for anyone considering to make the move to the UK. If you are planning to relocate to the UK or just curious about the process, this video is for you, so please stay tuned. Like many of you, I wanted better opportunities and good education. Nursing in Ghana was fulfilling, don't get me wrong. However, I felt that being in the UK and working as a nurse would offer me more growth in my field. Equally, I felt that pursuing a legal education here in the UK was a dream worth chasing. Before everything, I needed to have my international passport ready for travel, which meant that it had to be valid. I had to make sure that my passport had at least 6 months validity and blank pages for the visa. Then I started to research for more information. The first thing was to find out the requirements for nurses in the UK, which meant the right nursing education. So I needed to have either a diploma or a degree certificate in nursing. Then I had to make payments to the Ministry of Health in Ghana so I could get clearance to practice abroad. I then had to make a payment of foreign verification fee to the Nurses and Midwifery Council, that's the NMC Ghana, as the NMC UK would send them an email to confirm my professional credentials. Then I needed to sit for the IELTS academic tests. IELTS simply means International English Language Testing System, and I had to get the right score to meet the requirements of the NMC UK. In my case, my law school equally needed my IELTS certificate as it was a requirement. After this, I had to sit for the computer-based test, which is the NMC Test of Competence for Nurses. It's an exam I sat online in a Pearson Viewing Center in Ghana. So this meant that I did not need to travel out of the country for the exam, and that was great for me. Once I got my IELTS and my CBT, I had to start my job search. I simply had to Google nursing jobs in the UK. It was that simple. I chose a few of them. It was a mix of the NHS, that's the government hospitals, and private nursing homes. And I did this because I wanted to have an open mindset. After I had to apply for these jobs, I attended a few online interviews, and then I finally settled for a particular employer. And after, they gave me my job contract. Now, in terms of visa, I did not need to show any proof of funds because my prospective employer would have to provide me with the COS, which is the Certificate of Sponsorship. And that simply meant that they would have to state that they will bear whatever financial costs of my travel would be and my stay in the UK, like in the initial stages. So I was good to go. It is the COS that I used for the visa application. Flight fees and visa fees were all paid by my prospective employer. My job contract covered all of these. So please do well to read and understand the terms of a job contract. For my studies, I had to research into various universities and what their academic requirements for law was. So for whatever course you want to read, kindly research the prerequisites of the institution. If you want to solely travel to the UK and to study, you would please have to show proof of funds. This simply means that you have to provide a bank statement that shows that you can provide support for yourself and pay for your visa, your tickets, as well as your accommodation and fend for yourself here in the UK. And this is rather an expensive route. So I had to sit down and tell myself there was no way that I could relocate to the UK solely to study because I could not provide all of these funds for myself. So because of that, I had to go through the nursing route. If you want to go as a student solely, please know the cost involved and plan accordingly. I would now want to talk about the challenges that I faced and how I overcame them. The very first on my list would have to do with cultural adaptation. Now, adjusting to the UK's way of life was a challenge. The accent and fast-paced lifestyle were initially intimidating, but I had to immerse myself in the culture, which helped me a lot. Over here, everybody minds their business. If you know me, you know I'm a talkative and I love having conversations. But at this point, I was forced to be an introvert because who was I going to chat with? I migrated to the UK all by myself, not in any group with other nurses. And even my colleagues who relocated here through a nursing-like agency came in groups. However, they shared their experiences of being very lonely as well. This is because everybody has their own schedule at work. It's a 12-hour shift system here as a nurse. As you've closed from work, someone else is leaving from the house to work. Once you get home, you are exhausted and all you want to do is sleep. This is the reality. It takes time to adjust, so please be prepared. This is not in any way to put you off, please. I just want you to be psyched, as I wouldn't want you to be caught unawares once you get here. Even if you are told, experiencing it is much different. So please be informed. But the good thing is that you get used to it because, these things become a part of you. Guess what? The system does not change. It is what it is. So you would have to adjust. One of the biggest challenges I faced here was also in terms of how people interact, the weather, and even the food. The British accent was particularly tricky at first, but I decided to take it one step at a time. I had to watch their local TV shows, chatting with colleagues, and joining community groups, which helped me feel more at home. Let me tell you something interesting in terms of this accent issue. Back home in Ghana, you think you speak so well because, of course, you all sound the same. It's a West African country. It's a Ghanaian society. So obviously, you speak good English for that matter. Now catch this. In the UK, once you speak as a Ghanaian, the first question is, oh, you've got an accent. Where are you from? And you're like, I'm from Ghana. And then they're like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, because you got an accent. Don't take it personally. It's a general thing over here. So please do not fake the British accent because when you do, you sound funny. You simply need to speak well for people to understand. Just have clarity in your diction. And I hope you get the drift. Don't fake the accent. Just be yourself. Be authentic. Just be you. So my second challenge would have to do with financial management. Living in the UK is very expensive, so I had to budget carefully and live within my means. I was in competition with no one. The high cost of living in the UK is crazy, especially comparing it to Ghana. So budgeting became a survival skill. I tracked every penny from rent to groceries, and I avoided unnecessary expenses. The interesting thing about me is I'm naturally frugal. I don't like to overspend. So when I tell you that when I got here, I had to live within my means, then it means that my frugality was top notch. If you are someone who likes to spend so much, please tone it down for your own sake because it's quite tough over here. If you are a student, what you can do to help yourself financially is that you can find some part-time work which would fit in your visa restrictions, which will give you your extra income in order for you to support yourself. I'll talk about my final challenge that I faced. It has to do with balancing work and study. Being a nurse on its own is difficult, trust me. Being a law student is equally difficult. It's time consuming. Now, this is I trying to combine both. Being a full-time nurse and being a student was not easy. And this meant that time management was key. This is what I had to do in order to survive. I created schedules and prioritized tasks to stay on top of everything. Balancing my nursing job with law school was so intense. At first, I felt overwhelmed. However, I created a system which worked for me, which meant I set daily goals and made detailed schedules. Some days were tougher than others, but I had to keep on reminding myself why I had to keep going. I stayed intrinsically motivated and told myself I was going to complete the program despite whatever hurdles I faced. I needed to accomplish my goals. This is an advice for aspiring migrants. The first thing that you have to do is research. I can't emphasize that enough. So please research, research, research. You also need to understand the visa requirements and pathways available for your profession, which is as a registered nurse, or if you are here to study, you also need to get that visa requirements for being a student. As a professional or as a nurse, you need to apply for the skilled worker visa, formerly called the Tier 2 visa. And this will let you work and school concurrently if it's something you want to do. That is combining school and work. As a student, you need to apply for the student visa or the Tier 4 visa. With this visa, it means that you are only allowed for 20 hours of work per week. So you cannot work full-time. Please remember, a visitor's visa does not qualify you to either work or study in the UK. As the name implies, the visitor visa is only to visit the country. So if you have plans to either work or study here, please apply for the right visa. Now, the next thing I want to talk about would be for you to please plan financially. You have to save as much as you can before relocating. Expenses can be higher than expected. Now, please get prepared for cultural adjustments. You have to learn about the British culture, the weather, and systems to make your transition smoother. You simply need to psych yourself that it's a journey for the strong-willed. Be ready to unlearn so many things and embrace new ones. You also have to seek support from communities or from fellow Ghanaians or Nigerians or whichever country you come from, as well as professionals in your field for guidance. I hope my story has inspired or informed you. If you have any questions about relocating to the UK as a nurse or student, please drop them in the comment section and I'll answer them. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Please don't forget to subscribe.